ED.
Yo,
It
are
feels
we
like
up?
some places are just, I don't want to say cursed, but just tough to buy a win in some places.
Tastes like sadness. Tastes like sadness.
That would be correct. That's that taste, huh? That's that bitter taste that I've had. Jeez. This is the Believe in 49ers podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. He is Super Bowl champion Eric Davis. I'm Rahshaun Haylock. Plenty to get to on this show. Niners falling in the Pacific Northwest once again. As they lose this one, swept by the Seahawks. We'll break that one down. We'll tell you what we learned after this Niners loss. We've been handing out game balls. I've been so accustomed to it. Now we got to get back to what we learned coming off a loss. If you're new to the show, as always, we want to encourage you to continue to download, subscribe, rate, and review. We're located wherever you find your podcast. If there's a like button on your particular podcast subscription service, go ahead and hit that like button. Hit us up on social media. Get involved in the conversation. I'm at @RHaylock on Twitter. He's at _ Eric Davis _ and on the old Instagram, I am at Watch Ray Ray. He is at Eric Davis _ That's 4 underscores, as in one more than the Niners' most recent win streak.
Yep.
Ouch. As always, we are brought to you by the fine folks over at Bet Online. Look, they got whatever you want action. They got action, all right. They bought that action, boss. In the words of a former Seahawk, go on and head over to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE50. That's BLEAV 550 to receive your bonus. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports. Bet Online, where the game starts. He is Super Bowl champion Eric Davis. I'm Rahshaun Haylock. What did we learn, ED? Do you want to take this?
We learned that psyche, that how do I put this? How do I put this? It's real. It is a real thing that you can get inside of an opponent's head. That's what I think we learned. I do believe you mentioned it going into this one. Kyle Shanahan is John McVay's nemesis. Pete Carroll is Kyle Shanahan's nemesis. He's in his head.
Yeah, I was thinking that. I was leaning that direction. You mentioned something about last week. You mentioned something about this being a should win, not a must win.
Yep.
I was more on the must win side of things, considering they're still technically in the playoff picture.
That's why it wasn't a must win to me.
I see now why you were on that should win part. That's not what I learned though. What I learned is this team has some traits, bad traits that you would equate to bad teams.
You just learned that? You're just not learning that?
Not that I necessarily just learned it, but I think it looked like you're starting to turn the corner. So like I took a couple sips of the Kool-Aid, and then it was just like it just kind of hit me right back in the face again. And yeah, it's hard to be a winning team when you have some of those traits, and those traits aren't gone yet.
Yeah.
Or will they ever be gone? I mean, we don't. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, that happened.
Okay.
Final score 30-23, went down to the wire. Niners had a chance, opportunity to tie the game, potentially on its last possession. All right, the one thing, let's just get this out the way, because this is something that people were talking about. 3rd and goal, Jimmy G looking for Sherfield, end zone, looked like a clear PI. Funny thing is Sherfield got hit on earlier on that drive with a block in the back, and then he looked to be the beneficiary of a PI, but that was not called. What did you see there?
everybody's gonna hate me, but I can understand why it was a no call. I, I
Tell.
I mean, that last play where he pushed it up, he didn't really do enough to get any separation. So what you got to understand from a defensive back standpoint, I only tell
Could
you.
it be because he was being grabbed?
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. His hand. I can put my hand on you. I just. But you got to understand about the rule is that I can't do anything to impede your progress. So I can put my hands on you. I can put my hands on you. So if you are walking a straight line and I'm walking a straight line with you and my hand is on you, it's not impeding your ability to walk that straight line. It's not doing that. If my hand is on you and you decide to go to the left or the right, and that hand on you prevents you from doing that, that's when the penalty becomes becomes thrown. That it will be thrown. That's when now I am breaking the rules. If you're not doing anything to really create separation, my hands being on you is not necessarily what's going to call a foul. So everyone goes crazy when they see hands on. That's not what's going to do it. Is am I basically preventing you from doing something? That's the same way if you push, I can pull. Okay? So that's what you got to understand. So I actually, as a defensive back, I get to control and own the dirt that I'm standing on. So that's why you can't just run through me as a receiver and push me out of the way. I own that dirt, just like you own yours. Like the same reason I can't run into you. So what I saw, and I looked at it and I was like, at the very end, so when he's pushing up and he runs the route, he hasn't done anything to really create any separation. There was a hand on him, but he wasn't tugging on him or anything. He had his hand on him. And then at the very end, when he turned, he tried to create separation and he grabbed his arm. So the ref right now, see, this is happening so fast. Is he preventing him from trying to get away, or is he really pulling as he's pushing? You can do that. So that's why I'm saying I can see it being a no call.
It looked like a bear hug to me.
Take next time. What I want you to do is go back and look at it after we finish.
I'm watching it right now. I'm looking at it right now. Like I hear what you're saying about the pull, the push and pull.
He had his hand on him. He wasn't pulling them the whole time.
Okay, so my issue is he's pulling right with one hand, and then he comes around with the other hand. Right. That's PI to me. At least it looks like it.
I can put my hand on you. If I'm not turning your body, if I'm not torquing you or anything, it could be. So if they had thrown the flag, I wouldn't have argued. I'm telling you, I can see why they didn't throw it. That's all I'm saying.
So it's one of those. If they throw the flag, you get it. They don't throw the flag, you get it.
Because I understand the rule and how it is and everything that it entails. I can understand why they didn't throw that flag.
I feel I can understand that. And look, I mean that's
you know what, but
that's not the reason they lost.
Hold on. Everybody wants to go all crazy about that play and everything. I'm sorry.
That's not why they lost.
I started this off by saying that's not why they lost. You lost because you got out coached. You got flat out coached. You got out coached. You can turn your head. Guess what? You lost by how many points? With everything that happened, how many points you lose by?
7.
Okay. Special teams gave you how many? Punt return? I mean, a fake punt?
Yeah, 7.
That ain't nothing but coaching. Okay. Number 1, that's coaching. You got out coached on that. That's 7 points. Now, guess what? That right there, if you take those, it's a tie game. Now, guess how you lose the game? You get a safety. They dialed up a better call in that situation than you did and got 2 more points. That's coaching. Okay. Coaching gave up 9 points. You lose by 7. Don't blame it on a PI. Now I'm gonna drop my voice.
I'm glad. There's so much to unpack there. I'm glad you mentioned the safety because that whole drive, right? You're fortunate enough to to force a turnover in your own deep in your own zone. You force the turnover, but you start inside your own 5, right? I did not get why that entire drive, all 3 plays of them, or 2 play, however many plays it was, I believe it was 3 plays, right? All of those plays were taken from the shotgun. For the life of me, I could not understand that. When everybody in the building knows that you're trying to run, you need to get some breathing room so you can get your behind outside of the opponent's end zone, right? So you take all three of those snaps from the shotgun. That part I do not understand. And then on third down, you're you're gonna throw it, and you get the safety, right? So, and my thing about turnovers, right?
Mm-hmm.
3 turnovers. You turn 1 into points. You actually gave up 2 points off another one, right? And you don't cash in on the other. So I think that's huge. You talked about being out coached. Look, I was raised in the Pete Carroll heyday at USC. One thing he always did, coming out of the locker room at intermission, you knew Pete and his staff were going to make adjustments, and they would just ramrod folks in the second half. This game played out a lot like the first game played out, whereas the Niners had pretty decent control in the first half. In the second half, they just the bottom fell out, right? You talk about the adjustments Pete was able to make. You talk about Niners not being able to flip it. They weren't able to flip the field position the entire second half. That last drive they went on, they started that one, on their own 2 or something like that? Like, they had to go 98 yards just to try to tie the thing up.
The only time they crossed the 50 in the second half?
In the second half. I believe it was. They could not flip the field position the entire half. And so there are a number of things that you can point to for the reason why they lost this game. That non-PI call against Sherfield wasn't it. They just, and to your point, I mean, second half adjustments, it was the same thing that we saw at the Field of Jeans earlier this season.
Second half, first series, first punt of the game. You weren't prepared.
Yes, but even after that, which that was terrible.
Well, all I'm trying to say is that it didn't begin in the second half. The entire game, Pete was up on game more than Kyle. And that's why I was saying I learned it's a real thing that this guy, that going against this Seattle squad, Kyle, he doesn't do things the same way. And it's evident. And that's just how it is. It's like this Pete Carroll has something on him, and he's figured out ways to make things happen against this particular team that Kyle hasn't figured out yet. And he's going to have to figure it out because it's not even, you can look at a lot of those cases where Kyle has lost to Pete. Pete had the better team. He lost 2 this year to an inferior squad. The 49ers roster is better than the roster of the Seattle Seahawks. There is no way you were supposed to lose both of these games to this team. And we can point to coaching in both of them. So that's not good. That's not good.
Yeah, what do they have? 4 wins this season? Half of those have come against the Niners.
Come on now.
And so
that's nasty.
I mean, this team can't beat anybody, but they swept the Niners. They swept the Niners this season.
Come on.
And so that's just beyond unfortunate, especially for a team that's trying to compete and trying to get in the playoffs and things of that nature. I want to go so I was talking about the bad traits earlier. This is the Believe in 49ers podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. He is Super Bowl champion Eric Davis. I'm Rahshaun Haylock. Before we get into that, ED, let's talk a little light box.
Okay, let's go light box. So we want you guys to say goodbye to your dough gifts. All right. We know it's the holiday season and you got to get something in Lightbox to have some lab grown diamonds, and they are the brightest gift of the year. They use cutting edge technology and innovative techniques. Using those, they have cracked the science of sparkle. They've created the highest quality lab grown diamonds that you can find, but then you get them at a light price. They're only $800 a carat. That's pretty good for a guy like Rahshaun who knows. You see that face he's making right now because he knows his diamond. And that boy right there, you should see him when he's walking the streets. He's just big time bling. That's who he is. Now, these diamonds, they have the same chemical makeup as natural diamonds. They're just grown in a lab. And because of that process, they've created some stones in a blush pink. They have a beautiful blue. And of course, they have the classic white that my guy Rahshaun rocks all the time. Okay.
Right.
Lightbox lab grown diamonds are a gift that will never, that your people will never want to take off. And they are priced so that they won't have to take them off. They really do make any outfit sparkle. So what you guys need to do is visit lightboxjewelry.com to add some sparkle to your holiday shopping. All right, do that. Lightboxjewelry.com. Lightbox diamonds, never a dull moment. That's the tagline. Now we can begin.
It's gonna be a cold winter. It's always a slight chance of snow when your boy's walking around. You know that, ED. That's right. That's right. I know. So somebody heard you. I think somebody wants their light box, ED.
You know what? That's what it is. That's what it is. I see. I see.
All right. So these traits that I'm talking about, right? And it's one of those things where if you're the Niners, you go up 2 possessions, right? Under 2 minutes to play in that second quarter, right? It's 23-14. Kittle just does a great tightrope down the sideline, big momentum, game shifting play, you could say.
You know something else I learned. Kittle's good.
Fine, they used him finally, right? I mean,
he's good. So
yeah,
I went to the game and I was like, God, you know what? That 85 is pretty good.
Yeah, Shane.
Right, keep going.
He's a more featured in the more featured in the offense.
More, but yeah, he's pretty good.
So he does the tightrope. It's fantastic, right? It's phenomenal, right? Mm-hmm. You have an opportunity to go, you can go 2 for 1, essentially, right? You get the score there. You get the ball coming out of the locker room at halftime. You get the opportunity to either create even more space, right? Like I feel like these are critical moments in ball games that you need to take advantage of, right? And this, in my opinion, is when this whole thing shifted, right? And so instead of you using that momentum, defense coming up with a stop, you let Seattle march right down the field. Not only do you let them march right down the field, like you help them out. Where you give them 2 gifts, 2 15-yarders to help them out, help them extend that drive, and then they're able to find the end zone. You go in the locker room, it's just a 1-possession game, right? And then, of course, coming out the kickoff, the ensuing kickoff to start the second half, you cough that up. And so it's these are critical moments in a game, critical game-swinging plays that this team just has shown to be inadequate in these moments. And these are traits of good teams take advantage of these moments. And I feel like, especially in the Seattle game right here, I think it was huge because I think this is where the game changed.
I was taught, and this is what I was taught as a Niner. Win games on the road, you back your defense and your special teams. Yeah, no, this is what I was taught. I'm just going to tell you point blank. This is how I was taught. You pack your defense and your special teams because you can never count on your offense having a good day on the road, because you don't know what the weather is going to be like. You don't know what the communication is going to be like because of the crowd noise. You don't know what type of shenanigans are going to be going on with your headsets and all of these type things because, again, you're on the road. You don't control a lot of those things. But what you can always count on is your defense and your special team, because you're going to always be able to function in peace. They're not going to make noise when their offense is out there, and nobody really makes noise doing special team plays. So you count on those. And the 4th phase, because people always talk about 3 phases of a football game, right? We always hear that. We always hear, offense, defense, and special teams. Where there's a 4th phase. The first phase, coaching. So those 4 things you have to. So you should always be able to count on your coaching, right? You got to count on your defense. You got to count on your special teams. You get there, it is hard to win a football game on the road when the plan is not good. Your teams suck. Okay. They suck. and you get out schemed so where your offense can't come up with what you need when they need it. And that right there, some of the turnovers, some of the things that were happening. Jimmy Garoppolo made his, and you just can't do this. Jimmy Garoppolo made 2 really, really bad throws. One of those throws, the Bobby Wagner interception.
I kind of give Bobby a little bit.
I'm gonna give Bobby his dap for making that, because Bobby's an all-pro. You know, when we were having the Fred Warner conversation, all these things about the best linebacker, what did I tell you? You know who I picked.
Yeah.
I was like, I like Fred. I love everything that he does. Fred is an all-pro and all those things, but I was like, Bobby Wagner is the best linebacker in football. That's just, I don't scout with my heart. Love Fred. He's in my colors. That's my guy. But if you're telling me to evaluate the talent, this Bobby Wagner just does that year in and year out. That's just who he's dude's been all pro, 17,000 times. He's pretty good. He's consistently that dude. He's that way. We've seen what Fred can do. We know Fred heights. We know how he can play. Bobby plays that way every season, every single season. Now so I'm going to give him that one. That next interception he threw was the second worst throw of his career.
Yeah, that was not a good throw.
Worst throw. Truly, that's the second worst throw I've ever seen him make. You can't do, an NFL quarterback can't make that throw.
What was the worst throw?
The overthrow in the Super Bowl. Look at the importance of that. That's the worst throw. That's the worst throw he will ever make. He will never have. Think about it. The importance of that throw. He overthrew. He overshot the Super Bowl.
It's changed the trajectory of this podcast. I know that much.
So I'm just. But that's the worst throw. And that was throw number 2. So that right there, offensively, you can't have these things happen. Those things can't happen. But back to the whole teams not being prepared. Some of the mistakes that are made, yes, that's not on the coach. It's the player. You got to hold on to the ball. You can't fumble these balls. You can't do these things, but you got to have guys in position. You got to also, as a coaching staff, have guys that can make those plays, that understand the importance, that aren't coughing it up, that there are some things you just can't do. And I go back to some of the lessons that were learned as I was being taught the game. And it was like playing in Candlestick. We all knew Candlestick was a swamp. And everyone would slip and fall and do all of these things. And I remember my rookie year, after the first time it happened to me, all I was told is, you can't slip. I remember playing a game, and I slipped, and the guy caught the ball, and it was a big first down, and all these things happened. And my DB coach, he didn't say anything other than, ED, you can't slip. And moved on. I heard it. I got it. No excuses. There are times we all know that human beings are going to make mistakes. But in that situation, understand the importance, and you can't. Coming out of the half, you can't drop that ball. That has to be emphasized. I'm not saying that they didn't, but it's got to be emphasized to a point where it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You got to know how things are going, and you got to keep going. I've talked about this, and then I'm going to let you jump back in right here. I've talked about it before. The plan. You know, what's the plan, the lack of plan. And after a couple of wins, I said, you know what? I'm starting to think that they have a plan because he hasn't been going back and forth with Trey. Like, I'm going to go with Jimmy. And I see that. I even saw this in this game because, like I said, that's the second worst throw I've seen in my career from Jimmy. And he didn't think about changing anything out. So he's stuck with it. He's developing a plan. But this is also an important thing to know about a plan. Your plan is not going to rise to the level of the talent. By that, I mean, this is a very talented roster that we continue to talk about losing games that they shouldn't lose, right? I thought that was a should-win game. You are more talented. You're playing better. You should win this game. So the plan is not going to rise to the level of the talent. The talent is going to fall to the level of the plan. coaching. On you, bro.
That's deep. Put that on a t-shirt. hang that up somewhere. Put that in the living room. Look, I must win, should win. Like I'm with you on that. Should win. Like this is a game that should have won. And now they're 7th instead of 6th in the playoff picture right now, which it isn't the worst thing in the world, right?
Yeah,
They're still in it. You still got a shot, but obviously, like this is a game that you would have liked to have had. You mentioned it leading up to this game, just how well E-Man's been playing, and that loss was felt immensely. I thought Diamo came in there. I mean, he had a rough one. Let's just be honest about it. I love the kid, but
he's a pup. He's a pup,
Yeah.
and he's got to go through it. And I was tweeting while he was playing the game, and I was like, you know what? That's like the first ball that Metcalf caught on him, and I was like, guess what? He's gonna learn. He's gonna learn. That's just sometimes they're just better than you on that play, and you got to fight through it. They're gonna make some plays. You're going against NFL caliber guys. He is no longer in college. And he didn't see anybody that could go up and get a ball or place a ball the way Russell Wilson can, that understands how to, like Russell knows that I'm going to get this ball to a position to where Metcalf can get that big body in between you and the ball. And he's 6'4" and you're not. And let's see how this works out with your big vertical and everything else. So that's football. Now, when they keep coming, now some other players are going to come. You got to be ready. It's baptism through fire. And bruh, when the fire starts, they are going to put fuel on the fire. They're going to continue to pour gasoline on it. That's how it works. So he's going to be fine. He's just got to get some play in. And remember, I told you this during preseason when they were talking about he has this 0.0 passer rating. I was like, guys, you got to realize, okay, that was a bad throw. Dude was 2 yards butt naked behind him. You remember we were having this conversation?
Yeah.
I was like, just because it wasn't completed doesn't mean he was in the right position, and he's got to learn all these things. So.
And it's been a while since he's had some meaningful game reps too. I'd say. I mean, he was kind of thrown in there too. I mean, it's been a while since we've seen him in some meaningful.
But he's got to work.
Game reps. Yeah.
Yeah. But you know what? But one thing before you jump on, E-Man, I was looking at something today. I hate this is happening, but E-Man's he's got to get healthy. That's what he's got to stay on the field. I'm looking at this, and this is his 4th year. He hasn't had a long string of games together. Now, I was just looking at that, like Josh Norman, 10, 11 years now. What is this, 10 or 11 for him? But since he's taken over as a starter, Josh Norman has played 16 games 3 times in his entire career. Like these guys you got to stay healthy. You have to be on the field to help the team. And E-Man was really playing well. He really is. I know he's not trying to get hurt, of course, but what do you say? What's the best ability, man?
Availability.
Well, we disagree on that one, but I knew that's what you were going to say. I think ability is the best ability, but availability would be my number 2. You're correct.
I'm just saying that ability don't do you know what? My ability to be here and provide this podcast for as we entertain a nation here is null and void when I'm on IR, like I was last month, right? So I mean,
this is true, but if you were able to be here and you sucked at doing it, does it really help? Think about it. That's what I'm saying. If you show up and you can't get the job done, does it really help? That's, you
Touche.
got to show up, right?
Touche. So what do we do? Like, do we just chalk this one up to, all right, it's Kyle and he can't beat Pete, and we're still hopeful that they'll be able to get back on track? Or is there something glaring here that you see maybe prohibiting them going forward,
I
falling further off the rails?
I just think that this is an underachieving squad. I really do believe that this team is not playing to its talent level. You always want overachievers. You want an overachieving player. You want an overachieving squad. Um, it's very few guys are at their ceilings right now. Trent Williams is Trent Williams. Bosa is Bosa. I don't think we think. Would you say Kittle is Kittle?
No,
Would you say Fred Warner is Fred Warner?
no.
See, that's what I'm talking about. So you're not. So when you don't have that, you have plays, you have series, but you don't have your stars playing like stars. So if you don't have that, then you're going to be an average club. And that's what this team is right now. Before I was like, this is a bad football team. They're an average team at best. That's what I see this season right now, because I go back to it. I think a lot of this has been just the plan. Like what's the plan? How do you get there? Yes, I want to, you're telling me that is where we're going. Okay, that's where we're going. I know that championship is where we're going. I can see that. Everybody knows that. How do you want me to get there, coach? Because you can tell me hard work and all these things are going to get me there. But no, what's the path? If we stay on this particular path, are we going to get there? And that's what I mean by a plan. So I have something tangible out in front of me. And that's what I don't think they have. And guys are having a hard time week in and week out consistently doing what they're supposed to do. So that's what I said it before. This isn't a championship team. If you make the playoffs with that extra spot, okay, you're not going to win. You're not going to win the championship.
All right, let's go confidence meter. Scale of 1 to 10. How confident are you that this team is going to get back on track and earn a playoff spot?
Okay, tell me the roster. Tell me the remaining games. That's what I mean. Remaining games. Because right now, so this week, how do you feel about? So we got what, Cincinnati?
Cincinnati this week. Yeah.
How do you feel with the secondary against Cincinnati's passing game? How's that looking?
It's tough. I mean, they're coming off a loss. They're gonna be hungry. You got to go on the road. Another road game. I think that's tough. You got Cincinnati, home against Atlanta, at Tennessee, home against the Texans, at the Rams. That's your final 5 games.
How many you see them winning out of that 5? I picked them 10-7 starting. I figured 10-7. Everyone got mad at me when I said that, but I was like 10-7, and I thought that could get them into the playoffs. I didn't think they were going to win the division, but I thought 10-7 they could get into playoffs.
Yeah, after the Rams game, I thought 9-8, and I wasn't sure they were getting into the playoffs. Now, as I look at this, I think 10 is best case scenario.
That 10-7.
I think that's best case scenario.
And see,
That's winning 4 of your last 5.
So I'm going to stick, because I always do that. Because I said it, I'm going to stick with it. 10-7. I have to. So confidence meter. I'm not confident that they can go 10-7. My confidence is waning that they can go 10-7. But I said it, and I'm gonna keep riding that horse since I said it. Because you see days like we saw against the Rams, where they came out and they played some bully ball. We saw them do that a couple of times in a row, where they came out and played some bully balls. Because you see that, they're capable of doing that. And when they play that way, they can play with anyone. There's not a club that they're about to come across that if they play in that manner, if they are prepared, they weren't prepared this last game. Coaching lost this game. Just like I always say, you got to count on your coaches to win a couple of games for you here and there every season. A bad Seattle team Pete Carroll won them a game. His coaching staff won them a game. They were going against the 32nd defense in the league.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's been like. This happened last year too. Remember, like they ended up becoming a get right team for the Seahawks, right? They went up in the Pacific Northwest, and that's the game that Jimmy got hurt, and all of a sudden, like, they couldn't play a lick of defense all year, and that was their coming out party, so to speak. And it just continues. When they see those Niners colors, they perk up. I'm gonna go. Ooh, where's my confidence? 6 out of 10. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. That's where my confidence is right now in terms of this team getting to 10 wins. But I mean, you got no room for error, right? You got to win 4 of the next 5, and realistically, the Titans are the one team that I think will probably be favored over them. The Rams, you've had their number. You're hoping that stays true, right? And then you take care of the teams that you're supposed to take care of. And I mean, look, Cincinnati is a playoff team, right? As of right now. Atlanta, call it what it is. They're not a very good football team. Like, you have to win that game. Houston, you have to win that game. Like, you got to beat, like Keenan Allen said, you got to beat the bums, right?
That's it. That's it.
But there's only 2 bums on this schedule.
That's the problem. That's the problem. And we've shown that it's very difficult. It's very difficult for them to consistently come in and play against a good team. And this is the thing. So really, truly, when I know what I said, 10-7, and I was like, since I said it, I'm going to stick to it. I put it on wax. I'm going to stick to it. You've heard me say this enough times. You can't lose, as Keenan said, the bums, but you can't lose to a team that's not going to be in the playoffs, a bad team. I'm just going to say bad teams. I'm not going to call them bums, but you can't lose to a bad team because the other playoff teams aren't going to lose to those bad teams. You can't lose games to Seattle. You can't lose to Seattle. The other playoff teams aren't going to lose to Seattle. Yeah. And that's what keeps you out of the playoffs, because it's going to come down to the end, and those games cost you, or you're going to be tied with someone that beat those. They always cost you. You can't lose to bad teams, especially in your conference. And let's double down on that when it's in your division. You can't lose to bad teams. And the Niners, I mean, if we go down their schedule and losses, they've lost 6 games, right?
6-6.
They lost 2 to Seattle. What other bad teams have they lost to?
They lost 2 to Seattle. They lost to...
Find that schedule, man. Find that schedule. Come on.
Just Seattle. I mean, they lost to the Packers. That's a playoff team. They got swept by the Cardinals. That's a playoff team. But I mean, one of those games was without Kyler.
That was a bad loss.
Yeah,
that was a bad loss. They lost.
They lost to the Colts. They could find.
That was a bad team at the time.
They were, at the time they were a bad team. They could find themselves in the playoffs, and they got 2 losses against the Seahawks. But I mean, you're gonna look at this schedule. You're gonna look at shoulda, woulda, coulda. Should have taken care of business against Seattle. Should have won the game against Green Bay. You had that one won. You can't let Indianapolis come into your house and do what they did to you at the time. They weren't a very good team at all.
After what you just said right there, that would be 10-2. It would be a completely different mindset for this club. Taking care of those games right there that they had control of or should have won, it'd be a 10-2 squad.
And if we're talking about this at the beginning of the season, I don't think anybody would be surprised by that. But as we're talking about it now, it's just wow. So they got the Bengals coming up. We'll be back later this week to preview that. As always, want to encourage you to download, subscribe, rate, and review. We're located wherever you find your podcast. Hit us up on social media. I'm at Rahshaun Haylock on Twitter. He is at _Eric Davis _ and on Instagram, I'm at Watch Ray Ray. He is at Eric Davis _____. That's 4 underscores, as in, could the Niners put together a 4-game win streak here, maybe to close out the season? Who knows? I don't know,
because they're a little Sybil like right now? I don't know.
Real Jekyll and Hyde-ish.
Yeah.
You get my drift. Yeah, so that'll be that. For my partner, Super Bowl champion Eric Davis, I'm Rahshaun Haylock. This has been the Believe in 49ers podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. We will see you later this week.
Peace.